Side the ball, down the line in foul ground. He's got plenty of room, and he's got it! And the Giants have won. They have won the World Series for the third time in 5 years. And Madison Bumgarner has firmly etched his name on the all-time World Series record books as one of the greatest World Series pitchers the game has ever seen.
680 kilohertz is a clear channel frequency for all of North America. That means it's a very full frequency because it includes many high-powered stations both in Canada and the United States. In fact, there are 5 50,000-watt nighttime stations, 1 20,000-watt, and 3 10,000-watt stations on 680 kilohertz. It's by far the most powerful station lineup in the continental U.S. This frequency will definitely test just how selective your radio is when you DX. If your location is just a great distance away from any of these transmitters, make sure and tune in clearly. First, we'll look at the Class A stations. KNBR, San Francisco, California. KNBR has a non-directional nighttime 50,000-watt signal. I've personally copied it as far west as Maui, Hawaii, and as far north as Seattle, Washington. The station is truly one of the most powerful in the United States. KNBR San Francisco originally signed on April 22, 1922, as KPO Radio. It has a huge history to tell. As KPO, it was a major news source for most of the western United States at night. During World War II, KPO set up a shortwave transmitter to be able to broadcast to the Pacific, and it was on this station that the United States first heard of Emperor Hirohito's surrender of the Japanese nation, thereby ending World War II. Of course, KPO immediately broadcast this news to the western states. It was in 1946 that they became the Western Network flagship for NBC Radio, changing the call letters from the historic 3-letter KPO to KNBC. When NBC realized that Los Angeles would be the largest West Coast market, the call letters changed again in 1962 to what they are today, KNBR. Today, KNBR podcasts and broadcasts sports to much of Northern California and all of the western states. They are the flagship station for San Francisco Giants baseball, San Francisco 49ers football, and much more. If KNBR is the yin, then KBRW is in a way the yang because it's far north of KNBR. It's also a Class A, but it only has 10,000 watts of nighttime power. But before you discount that, don't worry about it because they have an incredible signal that goes right over the North Pole and into Europe. It's heard as far south as the UK, as far north as Finland and Sweden. It is a booming signal at times into the European continent. I'm telling you, for 10,000 watts, that ain't bad. Let's listen to a DX copy of KBRW Barrow, Alaska from the European continent.
This is KBRW Stellar Quality Communications Inc. in Barrow, Alaska, bringing you quality programming 24 hours every day, all year round.
That just goes to show our DX fans that you don't need 50,000 watts to be heard a long ways away. All you need is the right conditions. Next comes CFTR, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. This is another 50,000 watt station, but it's a Class B nighttime signal. It uses a very complicated 8-tower array to try and keep the signal away from KNBR San Francisco and KBRW Barrow. They're also one of the last 50,000 watt powerhouses to drop a top 40 format. Listen to this air check from 1990 from CFTR Toronto.
This is a test of the emergency broadcast system. Had there been an actual emergency, your local station, in conjunction with the relevant federal authorities, would have broadcast the following pre-recorded announcement.
Tarzan Dan is kicking it out with another hour of the best hit music on All Hits 680 CFTR.
Yo, baby, yo! I got the guts to say I'm nuts. that an innie or an outie?
680 CFTR. Showdown.
Ooh, yeah. Come on, yo, baby, yo, baby, yo, baby, yo. We're doing it on the ceiling, doing it on the floor. Oh, baby.
Oh, Tarzan, I love it when you say baby.
Oh, baby. All right, this is the way it goes. 7 o'clock showdown. You play your champ up against the challenger. You, yes, you, vote on the one you like, the one that little gray matter between your ears likes a whole bunch. Ready? 872-CFTR, 872-HITS, or 1-800-387-CFTR. Those are the numbers you're going to be calling. The man has been on top for 4 nights. Oh, baby, get out your purple and sing. Here's Prince with New Power Generation, 680 CFTR.
Let down your funky weapon.
Kick.
Is it any wonder why we love AM radio like we do? Because that's how it used to sound. Next on the dial at 680 is CJOB Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. It's also 50,000 watts. It's a Class B station, though, however, with a highly directional 4-tower northwest-facing antenna at night to protect the stations in the west and the north. Interesting fact, back on March 11th, 1946, they started on the air at 1340 kilohertz. Next up, WPTF, Raleigh, North Carolina. It's another 50,000 watt nighttime signal in the continental U.S., and it can be copied throughout the southeast at night. WPTF is one of the United States' earliest radio stations, signing on the air back in 1927. Last up here on the 50,000 watters, WRKO, Boston, Massachusetts. Now, WRKO is a radio relic in itself. First signed on the air as one of the first radio stations in all of the United States back in July of 1922, and it still uses the call letters from the now defunct RKO radio network. It has a 50,000 watt transmitter that broadcasts to all of New England during the day, but it's highly directional at night to protect stations in the south, west, and north of it. Going back in Wayback Playback machine, let's do one more. This is from WRKO Boston in the mid-70s.
You are the reason we do what we do. We do it for you on 68 RKO.
WRKO, exciting Mike Adams. Woo! Just sitting around in my tartan tutu tonight, and I wouldn't want to break your heart. I got roller concert tickets. They'll be up for grabs in a matter of minutes, and when I do, ask you to call in. I'll be looking for caller 5 with a phrase that pays. WRKO, exciting Mike Adams, and talk about embarrassing. Tomorrow, Mother is going with me out to the airport to meet the rollers. That'll be flight number 316 on Delta Airlines at 1:30 tomorrow. It's either I take her with me or she starches my shorts again.
I've always dreamed of...
Now, the rollers that he spoke about was, of course, the teen idol Bay City Rollers of the 1970s. Next up, WCBM Baltimore, Maryland is a 20,000 watt nighttime signal that uses a 3-tower array and travels through much of the mid part of the eastern United States on the eastern seaboard, and it really has a great history as well, starting out in broadcasting back in 1924. Here's a Wayback Playback from WCBM from 1975.
I'm Ken Merson. Now, more of WCBM's #1 weekend.
WCBM. Big girls don't cry.
The Merson Person.
WCBM.
507, 68 WCBM payroll game time. The Merson Person on a #1 weekend. All weekend long, nothing but #1 records. The cream of the crop, the top pop, the greatest hits of all time for you from 68 WCBM. 1 of 4 #1 for the Jackson 5.
And that's why we love AM radio, because we remember what it sounded like. And if you've forgotten, I hope this video helped you remember a little bit. There's still 2 more 10,000 watt stations on this frequency, believe it or not. WCNN Atlanta, Georgia's got a 10,000 watt nighttime signal. It travels mostly to the southeast seaboard at night, heading down towards Florida. It started off the year before the Summer of Love. In 1967 is WRNG, a hot top 40 station. Right now it's all sports and the flagship station for Atlanta Braves baseball. Lastly, KKYX, San Antonio, Texas, a 10,000 watt Class B station. They use a 4-tower array, broadcasting mainly due south. So there you go. A very giant band with 5 50,000 watt stations, 3 10,000 watt stations, and 1 20,000 watt station. That is the busiest, most powerful band on all the AM dial in North America. I'd like to thank you so much for watching, ask you to please subscribe, hit the bell icon to receive notifications when we make new videos, and also remind you that we are exclusively broadcast to you and sponsored by Vlado at hamradio.repair. Vlado is an incredible guy. He really knows his radios, and he's done it for years and years and years. He's got the spare parts, the knowledge, and the years of experience your radio deserves. So, if your radio sounds a little bit clunky, call Vlado. He's the man with the plan that makes your radio sound the best that it can. Vlado can be found at hamradio.repair. That's hamradio.repair. Make sure and tell him that Larry sent you, okay? We'd also like to remind you folks, the reason we do this is to remind a younger generation of what radio used to sound like and how very special AM radio was back in the day. Remember, it's one thing to hear what you know, but it's entirely different to know what you hear. Until next time, goodbye, everybody.